I got a email from somebody from the Schoenberg Center in Vienna, which is the foundation that is sort of the archive of Arnold Schoenberg's music and all things having to do with Arnold Schoenberg. And they told me that because the 2012, this happened last year, was the 100th anniversary of the performance, the premiere of Pierrot Lunaire. And they wanted to have a concert where they would have a performance of Pierrot Lunaire with members of the Berlin Philharmonic playing, and then a new version. And they asked me to compose a piece that somehow was related to Pierrot Lunaire. Then I learned later that the family of Arnold Schoenberg did not, and usually does not, allow people to take that music and quote it or use it in any way to develop it into another type of piece. Maybe they had heard some of the music I had done, the projects I've done about Mahler or other composers, where I sort of took his music, but basically created a structure for improvising musicians to play it. They said, you can't do that. But they also couldn't control the idea of using the texts, because the texts are not by Schoenberg. The texts are basically a German translation of a French poet who wrote poems that Schoenberg then used for Pierrot Lunaire.
And with the fantastic moonbeam, the moon illuminates the crystal flats. On the ebony sacred watch them the festival, dandy from Bill. In the summer's bronze basin, the fountains laugh brightly with a metallic.
So my idea was then to use the texts, the original 21 texts, and also try to study the piece and see if I could derive, principles or ideas from how Schoenberg composed. And many of the ideas, for instance, the short structures of the songs, the fact that there's certain melodic figures that keep on reappearing, or the fact that as a form of punctuation you have these repeated notes or repeated chords. Some of the songs have references to cabaret style or to the waltz or to the sort of popular music that was happening in Vienna. So I tried to derive certain of these principles and say, I'm going to use the original text but write new music using the ideas, but coming up with my own ideas, which is basically the way I worked on it.
Wait, he thinks. A spot of plaster. He wiped. There lurks within this music morbid soul destructive charm. Wild chords of passion-breaking desperations. Nice.
And as happens in many of these pieces, once you put it together and we start to play together and rehearse, then other things start to happen, especially because part of the music is totally composed and written out, but part of it is, there's some little room for improvisation here and there. And so in that sense, that's how we start to work on it as a group. We try different approaches, and then we make modifications, or we try to sort of change the direction of the piece to create a structure where the musicians that I play with can play the music as it's composed, but also there's freedom to improvise. And of course, having singers like Christina Zavaloni, who sings the original Pierrot Lunaire and knew it very well, and she's also able to improvise, and she's very flexible. She can sing in many different styles. So that opens up. Friends at this point, because we've been playing many years together, many different types of music, and we have a sort of a shorthand with each other that we can say, try this, do that, and we're used to playing with each other, so that gives the composer a lot of freedom to try different things. It's much different, if you have a commission from an orchestra. You can't, in the middle of the rehearsal, say, wait, can maybe the oboes try to do that? It's a different world. There you have to basically write it and it's played. You can change it, but it's not as flexible as when you're working with friends who are also great musicians. So in that sense, I feel very lucky.